So seriously, I'm going to tell you some things. I'm going to tell you some things that I've done. I met this guy at the bar. Super buff built guy. Like, you know, he seemed really cool, a lot of fun. He took me back to his place that night. And oh my God, I was like, I came home with this guy for this. Like, seriously, like the smallest dick I've ever seen. I didn't even know he was in me.
What would you do?
Well, I mean, I still had sex with him, but it was horrible. I was drunk too, but
From the Dank Studios at 3835 Elm Street in Denver, Colorado, the Cannabis Community Project presents Beyond Sanity with Becca B-Trip, a podcast about wellness, lifestyle, and cannabis.
I could just tell you how stupid I think purses are stupid.
do you see my bag? I'm the bag lady.
You might as well go all the way to the bag if you're going to have a purse. Purses are stupid. But men don't have, well, they do now. I don't understand that. But men don't have purses because you can keep everything on your body and be like a mobile party unit. You don't have to have something hanging, some pendular impediment hanging down full of other people's shit. I'm done with purses.
So,
yeah, right.
So my podcast is called Beyond Sanity.
Nice.
And we're going to talk about the 5 big areas of life, which are health, career, love, relationship, and connection with something greater than self.
Cool.
Okay? Mm-hmm. This is about my story, which I think you have a similar story.
And I'm assuming that there's a lot of people that do, and that's why it's worth making something about art about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that everybody's journey is their own. But it's nice to hear people that finally step out and be who they really want to be. Right. And and how difficult and scary that can be for so many people. And that's a journey, I think.
And it's a challenge. It's my personal challenge every day. You know, I was listening to Elizabeth Gilbert talk in her book, Big Magic. And she said, you know, once I did everything and I got through all the angst of my 30s and 40s or whatever, she said, I realized that it's okay if my life doesn't have a permanent meaning. So let's play.
Right.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I hope people can get there sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm. I agree, Amy. And that's why I asked.
You're so fun to play with.
Thank you. You are too. So that's why I invited you on my show. And because I met you, so just a little background, and then I'm going to introduce yourself.
Okay.
But I met you a year ago, well, a little over a year ago. It was July of 2015, which feels like a lifetime ago.
I know, doesn't it?
And I fell in love with you immediately.
I felt the same way. Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Just something about you. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's something that I saw about me and you, like my future Becca or whatever, but you were just so confident in yourself and where you're going and you were doing for you, and screw everybody else. I've already done that, right? You're a mother of 3 children, grown children now.
Right, grown.
You were married 20-something years.
Yeah, 27.
In one marriage, correct?
Yes. Although we used to joke about it, actually. We used to say that we'd been married for this many years and most of them contiguous. Haha. I mean, we manifested our divorce. Did you hear that in that language?
Yes.
We manifested our divorce. Yeah.
Anyway, so I went on your hike, right? We were introduced to each other without ever even being introduced to each other, right? We were told we needed to connect, and we connected, and it was amazing, and we've been in each other's life since. And you've watched me transform in the last year and a half since I met you, and I've watched you blossom even more.
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
doesn't that feel good?
Yeah.
Just to say that out loud?
Yeah.
It's like fucking A, man.
So I thought we could have a conversation about you and what you're working on. So maybe you can do an introduction of yourself to our audience.
Okay. My name is Amy Rohr, and I am double nickels. I am 5'5" this year, which I am really enjoying.
Did I miss your birthday? It was in June.
We both have birthdays in June, I think, don't we?
Yes.
Right.
And yours is when? June?
26th. Yours is the 10th, isn't it?
Yes. And yours is 26th because that was my wedding date of my first marriage.
Well, you know, we need to have a middle fest of some kind.
Let's think about
absolutely.
it. Okay.
We'll have to make up the name.
So let's make a mental note. That's what we're going to talk about tonight.
We're going to talk about that tonight. Oh, gosh, I don't know. I was married for 27 years. I got involved in politics. It changed my life in a lot of ways. Once our kids were gone, we hadn't made a plan. We didn't talk about what it was we wanted to be beyond being parents, which we were great at. And so that kind of came to a sudden halt. And I moved out here, which was probably one of the best things I've ever chosen to do, to Colorado. And I started exploring whatever made me happy, and I walked in whatever hot tracks were in front of me. And some of them were dead ends, and I don't even give a shit anymore.
Very nice. Let's talk about politics.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all the different areas. So I want to talk about those 5 big areas of life.
Same again.
Health, career,
Okay.
relationships, love, and something greater.
Higher power. Okay.
So you said something just a minute ago, and we're going to touch on probably a lot of those things that you said, but I loved what you just said, which you said your husband and you didn't have a plan outside of being parents. Let's start there. How old were you when you got married?
I was 21.
And how did you meet your husband?
I met him on the quad. Actually, Cannabis plays part in this. I met him on the quad of our campus. He was just about to be graduating accountancy degree at the University of Illinois, and I had one more year, and we were smoking some hash under glass, and he and his friend saw us doing it, but they didn't really know what an entree was to get over there to just say, can we just smoke your hash under glass? Just,
Well, can we stop right there because
Yeah.
I'm a novice? What is hash under glass?
Oh my God. Hash is when they get the oils all together and they get really black and really sticky like tar. And then they kind of compress it. It becomes like a rock a little bit, but not really. It's really soft still. And you stick it on the needle into a pink eraser, and then you stick this hunk of hash on the end of the needle. Then you light it and you put the glass over it.
Oh.
And then you take the hash smoke from underneath.
So that's almost like a dabbing.
Is it? Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Dabbing, you heat that nail, and it's the
Kind
sticky
of, yeah.
concentrate.
Yeah, I guess, but it feels cleaner. It feels more like a shisha to me, like it's wood. I don't know why. It's not quite as gross as, I don't like dabbing.
You don't like dab, so it's more...
It just seems more organic.
Organic,
Dab seems like they've gone through a lot of steps to make it what it is.
Yeah,
and that doesn't make
that
me happy.
hash is just
Closer
straight
to
from
the plant.
plant.
It's closer to the plant.
The plant, okay. Yeah.
Right. If I'm wrong, all of your readers can write it and tell that.
For me, I asked the question because I'm still, like I said, I've only been consuming for 2.5 years, so I don't know a lot of the old stuff. So you met him basically under cannabis circumstances.
Under cannabis circumstances.
Which is beautiful.
But somebody came along who played songs on his guitar, and he happened to be friends of both my friend and his friend. They had an entree into our hash under glass.
Oh, okay.
And he sang a lot of songs. So, yeah, that was wonderful.
So you met at 21, and you started dating.
Not really. We really just started living together. Well, let's be honest about it.
Yeah, we're here to be completely honest.
Yeah, we really just...
So you're just living together.
We had a false start that lasted about 48 hours, and then we just lived together.
So you lived together from 21, like immediately as soon as you met him?
Pretty much.
Really?
Yeah. I think I was 20 at the time, actually.
And then he moved into your place?
For the summer, yeah. And then he had to go back to Chicago because he had a CPA degree, thing. He had to go look for a real job with a collar.
So he graduated and moved on into the city. Did you guys still date?
Oh, yeah. We planned our wedding. We were...
Oh, okay. So you lived apart.
Yeah.
But you were planning a wedding for when you graduated.
Right after I graduated, 2 weeks, yeah.
2 weeks?
Yeah,
and then what was the plan?
The plan was he had already gotten an apartment in the most difficult part of Oak Park, Illinois. But, so we were going to live there, and he had a job in the place called Summit, Illinois.
And he was CPA?
He did finally become a CPA, yes.
And what was your intention when you got out of school and moved? What were you going to do? Pursue your career? What did you go to school for?
I didn't really intend to have a lot of a career, so I always went towards social justice if I could get away with it. So I worked in a battered women's shelter for the first year at 22nd and Central Park, which is pretty interesting part of Chicago. And now it's just a little bit north of Pilsen Little Village, which is the Latino area. And it's really grown and changed a lot. But we had a home, women could stay for 28 days, and their children needed some calm and some certainty. And so that was what I did. I kind of worked with them because they didn't know whether their moms would go back to somebody who was beating the tar out of them or not.
Yeah.
And so, it was interesting. It's too much for a 21-year-old person, though.
So, yeah, that's a pretty smack into the face of life out of
like
college.
I spent a whole hour every day watching General Hospital, just dreaming I could be that instead. I mean, that's how intense it was.
So, how long did you do that?
I just did that for a year because we made a vow because his parents are totally infantilizing. He's the sixth of six. I'm the first of four. You cannot treat a first of four like the sixth of six. It just doesn't work like that.
So you think that sibling order has a play in relationships?
Oh, God, so much. Yeah, I really believe in this a lot.
Interesting. Well,
Birth order is really important.
You say he's 6 of 6. Does that mean he can do no wrong?
No, that means that he was constantly being, everything had already been done before him, and he just really didn't get a lot of appreciation from his family. And they just treated him like a kid. The story they used to tell all the time was about how he used to drink bleach when he just one time. He drank bleach when he was 2. And they made the story about him instead of about what shitty parents they were.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, how do you do that? So, I think we all had insecurities going into the marriage.
Yeah, right.
That grew as we got older.
Right, exactly. We bring a lot of our already self-doubt, insecurities into a relationship, and then does that seem to reflect and manifest in the relationship?
So much because we're just living out what we already know, and we're getting that person to play that other part instead of moving past it. And we trick our partners sometimes into being our mothers or our fathers or whatever, and working out those dynamics, and either we make it through or we don't.
Yeah, I see. I can totally see that.
That's just a theory I made up right now. But
okay, so you did that for your not brutal, but I'm thinking, wow, what an emotional.
Yeah, it was really tough. And
being as young as you were.
Right. And one night as I was coming home, somebody, and we had this, I don't know what this car was. It was a Malibu, and it had these huge doors, and the window went the whole way of the door. 1.5 times the normal door that you have now. And some guy decided to come up to my window, this big, long window with lots of glass, and bash it with a brick and steal my purse, which had no money in it, I can assure you. And that fucked me up.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, dude, how about we start looking for jobs in Colorado?
Then you guys decided to move to Colorado, and that was in what year?
1984.
And you got married in 83?
Yeah, because we had a vow we were going to leave.
Okay, so you guys did have a plan to get out of Chicago, Illinois.
Yeah,
as a couple.
Yeah, we jumped into my parents' house. That was pretty funny. But whoever got a job first, we were just going to go.
Okay. So you had a plan.
And right, we did.
Okay,
yeah,
so you got to Colorado.
We did.
In 84.
Yeah.
Which I believe to be the best year ever for like movies and music.
I think I'd have to see a list. I don't think I know how to categorize things like that in my head. But that may be true. I may agree with you once I see the list. I do not know. 84. There's just a lot of stuff went on then. We were really aware of music, and we did mushrooms. And one time he got fired from a job wrongfully, actually. And we kind of knew that, but I said, I have these mushrooms. Let's just do these. Fuck that. Fuck them. You'll get another job. Who cares? And we laughed our asses off for 24 hours. It was great. It was great. It helped our marriage for many years to come. Yeah.
I like that. That's good.
That was cool.
So what did you do for a career when you got here?
I worked at, Garcia's of Scottsdale over in, do you remember those Mexican restaurants here?
They have one in DTC, right?
Garcia's? They still have one?
Oh, they have a Garcia's.
They used to have
DTC.
A shitload of them.
Oh.
Yeah, and they had one over on Florida and Havana, because we had moved out of my parents' home, because my mom says to my husband when he got home from golf one day, she says, you can't both be wives. She's kind of a bitch, though.
So what does that mean? You both can't stay home?
We can't both just do what we want and have fun and blah, 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 which meant leave. That meant get out of our house. But, so we did. He got a real job. And anyway, so I was a waitress for a while. And then I got a job, oddly enough, with with an Illinois company, with a William Wrigley Jr. company. And they gave me $24,000 and a station wagon and health insurance. And I was pretty happy about that.
What were you doing for them?
Going into grocery stores and making sure it wasn't rotten and giving them little stickers to put on those things that get your kids all upset because they can't have any as you're waiting in line. Those those little impulse shopping.
Oh, I know. Yes,
shopping things.
The impulse items we call them.
Right.
I don't do the impulse items anymore.
No, I'm sure you don't. But gum is one of those things that's in a lot of categories. So
yeah, I do still do gum occasionally, and some mints because it's good for cotton mouth.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, so true. So I worked for Wrigley for a little while, and then the bottom fell out of the petroleum market here, and we were going to have a baby. And
how old were you when you were having your first baby?
I'm 25, and so
not super young.
No,
but not super old.
No, it was perfect for me.
You had some time to be free and wild.
I can be honest with you that I manifested my life, and I was talking to myself about this today. I manifested my life in exactly the way I needed to. Mm-hmm. I got a man who loved me, who was going to do stuff with me, who was going to have really nice children with me, and an extended family, and provide for us, so I didn't have to work, because I never wanted to do that.
So once you had your oldest, or your
first...
we
had to move to California because there were no jobs here.
Okay,
And,
so you moved to California pregnant or already?
giantly pregnant.
Oh, my
yeah,
word.
giant.
I remember seeing that picture on Facebook, I think.
That was the twins, and I
the
wasn't nearly as
twins.
fat when I had them as I was when I had Alex. Anyway,
So you
then
moved to California and had your first.
I did.
And then you dedicated the next how many years to being a mom?
Oh, wow, quite a few. Till about 90. It depends. You know, I like to doodle diddle. I'm kind of an itinerant person. I like to do this, and then for a little while, and then I get bored, and then I like to do that. You know, I sold Tupperware, of course. That's what you do. You know,
I did
I'm
too.
in suburban. You know, right?
Yeah, it sounds like amazing, right?
All right, it does, and they don't tell you that your living room is going to be full of plastic, and that you're going to start ignoring your kids, and that you're going to go to these rallies with these ladies you don't even really like. Oh God, yeah. So I did that and wrote a novel, and I did all sorts
you
of
wrote
stuff.
You wrote a novel. So what were you writing about?
I was trying to explain things I didn't even understand at the time. It's called a roman de clay. It's a character novel about a person who's changing and growing. But in my case, my character is a 1946, 47 young man living in the Douro Valley in Portugal. And his country's starting to get really squeezed, and fascism is taking hold, and they're pushing women way back. And just talk about football. And it's just getting like, I think Donald Trump would like our country to be, frankly. And so anyway, he learned some important stuff about life and actually dies and comes back from the dead with the soul of the epic poet of Portugal with him. And then they navigate the rest of the novel through the parts of the poem. So it's not as good as it sounds.
But I think just tempting a book, right? That's huge.
It's huge.
So tell me about motherhood. How did you always know you wanted to be a mother?
Yeah, since I was like 12. One year I tried to get my mom to buy me a fucking baby doll, and she thought that was kind of weird. And so she didn't. I really wanted a baby doll.
So what do you think it was that made you want to be a mom? Just something in you?
I know. I'm going to tell you that I've just figured this out in the last couple of, I don't know, maybe 3-4 months. My mom, when my mom had me, she was over the fucking moon. Mm-hmm. She wanted to be a mom so much. My dad was gone a lot. Her family, her parents were dead. She was trying to separate herself class-wise from her real relatives. I don't think she considered them to be classy. And my dad was a doctor. And so she just, she kind of isolated herself. And my dad moved her around a lot. But when I was born...
And you're the oldest.
I'm the oldest.
Yeah, so you're firstborn.
Yep, I'm the firstborn. And when I was born, she desperately wanted someone to love and to care for and to keep clean and to have other people comment on. And, for her to be smart and for her to be... And I remember having these feelings with my oldest daughter, and maybe identical feelings, I don't know. But my mother loved me to death, and I was a very happy baby. And I was smart, and I talked early. And this is just like my daughter. It's so funny. And my mother adored me for the first year and a quarter of my life. And then my brother came along, and my brother was just a different cat, and a very sensitive cat. And I think my mom couldn't really handle his sensitivity very well, and she screamed a lot, which isn't helpful with a sensitive person. And so our life started to change. And then I was just kind of expected to do whatever I was supposed to do.
So you think that...
I think that
mothering requires different mothering styles based on people and their energies.
I suppose. But
how about... Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
go ahead. No.
How was she with the next two that came along?
I think my dad moved her around a lot. She never had any anchors. She was got very hooked into appearances and having things as saying who she was, and being really thin. My mom often had... It's funny, I started this thing with a headache, and it's gone now. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Glad.
My mom always had a headache because she didn't eat, because she wanted to be skinny, and she didn't really know how to do that.
Yes, the blood sugar roller coaster.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I address that with my clients.
And I think she's bipolar at one level anyway.
I think sometimes I could be too.
Yeah. And so I think that made it really bad. And so I was thinking about this today. Some people have mania, but she would have mania. She would just get really fucking mean in a boom like that. You know? Mm-hmm. And it would be the way I think it's bipolar is she would just want you to forget it. Mm-hmm. You know? There wasn't going to be an apology. It was you're just supposed to, like, that's how she is, so fuck you. You know?
Yeah, I can see that. Like, similar. My mom, I feel the same way. I think that's why we connect too, because I feel like we had similar motherings. And I see.
Yeah, we talked about that at the very beginning. Right?
And I see sometimes I definitely was stopped in my tracks over the last couple of years of my mothering and doing some things like that with my kids. And I don't ever want to do that anymore. And so one of the nicknames my kids made for me is Maniac Mom.
Oh, okay. What's that mean?
Well, because I get upset. Like, instead of just disciplining correctly, right, and saying, you know, you didn't you laid around the house all day, turning everything off. Guess what? Now you're going to do that. Instead of getting all worked up and pissed off that they sat around all day, just be like, fine. Now I'm here. Now you got to deal with micro mom manager, right? Micro mom manager is now what you got to deal with.
And you have to decide what's more painful.
Right.
Actually getting off your ass when I'm not here or having to really get off your ass when I'm here. That's up to you.
Exactly.
Yep, absolutely.
Right. So I think it's a way to come at it in a different light. But I think the hard thing is we don't have anything to base it on.
Right.
Right.
We didn't have rational parenting.
Right.
Right. No, that's very true. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to be a mom was to show that rational parenting could be done. Did I never have an irrational moment? Absolutely not. I can think of all of them. And, but I can think of all of them because there weren't that many. And my kids will tell you that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's me too. I don't want that. And I want to be, as I said to somebody, I want to be the strings of my kids' kite, right? My kid is the kite. They need to be able to be free and take those risks and those dives, but we're there to make sure that they don't get lost, right? They don't get caught away.
Right.
But I think if the more time we have to figure out who we are at, like you said, at a younger age, then we can live a happier life for a longer amount of time.
For ourselves and not for our kids or through our kids.
Or for
either.
anybody else.
Right, anybody else.
Yeah.
Absolutely anybody else. Yep.
Okay, sorry.
I'm with you.
We got a tangent. So you always knew you wanted to be a mom.
You know, I'm surprised you're keeping up as well as you are there. I did. I always knew I wanted to be a mom. And the day that child was born, oh my God, I never felt that kind of love ever in my life. Never. It was beyond, I think, whatever my mom felt for me when I was first. I mean, it was just wow. And I had a great husband who was around, and he really liked her. And yeah, it was a nice time.
And then how many years later when the twins came?
They're 2.25 apart.
Oh, so that's perfect. Like they always say, 2.5 to 3 years is ideal.
Yeah.
I don't know who says that because
I don't know. Well, you have now.
I have the gap.
Officially, you have now said it, and that makes it a law. Becca's law. Just have a bunch of those.
I think I don't know. I don't have advice on having children. But anyways.
You know, I don't know that I do anymore either.
Because I'm tired.
Oh, God, I'm sure. You dragged yours out a little bit too long. But that's okay. That's the way it went for you, and it has a meaning.
It does have a meaning, and I am appreciating my family more and more every day, for sure.
And it keeps you spontaneous on it.
Oh,
I mean, you're willing to be spontaneous, but it helps. It even molds that a little bit more.
It does.
Allows for that a little bit more, which is nice.
Yeah, and that helps me because I like to be spontaneous. Like you said, I like to be that.
Yeah. What do you like best about? Tell me about your being a mom? What? Not advice, but how does it feel?
I know.
How does it feel for you?
I guess for me, I like how I'm growing with my kids. Like,
thank you for reminding me of that.
Yeah. You know, it hit me a couple years ago with Tanner. You know, and I guess for me, I still remember vividly being in middle school and elementary school. Like, I don't ever want to say like those are not monumental years, but in certain ways, I don't want my kids to ever have the childhood that I had. Is that horrible?
No, I didn't want my children to either, and they really didn't.
And I guess my kids don't. I want my kids to feel they can be who they are and to explore who they are. Like I see Tanner's really grown confident in himself, where I feel like he was waffling there in middle school. But I could be like, maybe that's just how it is in middle school.
I think so. I think I don't know why we've made it such a challenging thing.
Yeah, and
I don't know why we've decided middle school is hard.
Yeah,
but for a lot of people, it really is.
And I saw it with Miranda too. Same thing.
Really?
But I feel closer to all my children now. And same thing with Miranda, if she's a lesbian or straight, or she says she's poly.
Okay.
Right? And I want her to feel comfortable talking to me about that.
That doesn't surprise you, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But I also think she has a hard time relating to other people or women or girls or boys, because she can be very open. Mm-hmm. Like, I think we have a very open household.
Mm-hmm, I bet.
But kids don't. Like I think they're realizing that other households aren't as open. And I said, so she feels like people that want to like her can't like her because they're scared what their parents are going to say.
Oh, tough shit for them.
But her parents are like, well, we're fine with it. We support our daughter,
Okay.
Yeah, I guess just seeing them grow and who they're going to be is amazing. So I enjoy that more than all the chores and tasks that come along with children to keep them alive.
That's what's so great about having grown-up children, because you can still you can be like a hummingbird kind, and your children are these gorgeous flowers, and you just kind of come and you stop by and you make a little buzz and and then you leave for a long time, and then they think, oh, we want to see that hummingbird again, and when it gets to be about them, they'll call you.
Yeah, I like the way you say that, because that's probably one of my biggest things that I deal with as a mother, because I had to work. I've always been a working mother since the day that my son was born. I had got 3 months off, luckily, but then I had to go back to work, and boy, I feel like that's the point of my life where it started to go sideways. Not sideways, where the spiral down, right? Because I couldn't handle having to work and have him, like somebody else caring for my son.
Can you say more about that? What do you mean? You didn't like being apart from him?
No,
you didn't.
I couldn't sleep for like the first month of going back to work.
Oh,
I just could not sleep.
That's too bad. There wasn't a better solution then.
I know. But you know what? There probably could have been if I could communicate with people.
Well, that's
Or
always
people
the
that are
close.
close
Are
to
we
me.
expressing what we need enough and really pushing for it?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, because so then I was married to my second husband, Chris, which again, he's a great dad. I mean, he's a great guy. But
Yeah, he's a good
yeah,
guy.
we should have never been married. But maybe if I was able to have that conversation, like either I would have got married to him and said, okay, we're just having a child together, or said, okay, we can get married, but here are my rules. I'm not working. Right? Stand my ground in what I want.
Right.
Right? If I'm having babies, I don't want to work.
Right.
Not, I'll have babies and have a career and then where does that leave Becca? I don't even know who I am.
You know what? It's gonna. It happens anyway. I mean, I had it, and I was still fucking confused about who I was. And every decade, it changed into something different. And I can see the pattern now, and I'm so happy about it. And I've just forgiven myself for stuff that I did because I didn't know better. And I try to do that with other people. And then when I do know better, I try to change.
Right. It's being conscious of our habitual habits, lifestyle beliefs about ourselves.
Limiting beliefs.
Yeah,
Right.
about ourselves.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So anyways, I've always felt torn between a mother and my own desires to be out and exploring or work, or I put all my energy into my career thinking that was what make a solid, happy family. Right? Have this great paying job with this great paying title, have a beautiful body, right? I'll get my weight shit under control.
Right, sure.
And then I'll have this happily ever after life.
Right. So it doesn't
And
really
that's-
matter
and it
which
didn't.
parts are which. It doesn't really matter. You decide, I'm going to have a happy life.
Yeah.
And I understand that some people are challenged with to various mental degrees as to whether they can fire the chemicals that make them happy. I understand that. And I think if they can find a way to make that better chemically in any way, I think they have the right to do that. But in general, you're only here for a set period of time. You just have to invite as much abundance and love as many people as you can. Try and stay physically healthy so you can enjoy it to the max. And that's it.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can figure out a way to make some money.
Okay, so I know we got sidetracked again. So I'm going to reel it back in because I'm sure Tarek will edit this.
So good.
Yes. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk about, so you're a mother now at this point. The other thing that we connected on was drinking.
Mm-hmm.
So
were you still drinking when we met?
Yeah, but not a lot.
No.
So here's the funny thing. I don't think at this point anybody that has met me from a marijuana perspective has ever seen me drunk.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Is that interesting?
That's great.
But anybody pre Becca trying to figure out what the fuck is wrong.
Sure.
I would say, what's the wrong? There's nothing wrong with me. But Becca's Search for Happiness.
Uh-huh.
Alcohol was the first thing I tackled, right? So in this last 2.5 years of my cannabis journey, alcohol was the first thing to tackle, right? Because that thing was really bothering me. So here's the other nickname that my children give me, right?
Okay.
Maniac Mom and glug, glug, glug,
Oh, yeah, that's starting to happen. Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what kind of image am I giving my children?
Right.
So that's where that started. Anyways.
Well, I was listening to that Huey Lewis song, I Want a New Drug.
Yeah, I Want a New Drug.
I was listening to it the other day, and I'm like, marijuana is that drug for me.
Me too.
Absolutely. It doesn't give me acne. It doesn't make me act stupid. It doesn't make me go to sleep. It just does me. It helps me do me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so.
Who doesn't want that?
Yeah. So you and I kind of had a little connection there on a drinking level. Because I think you also as I said, was your choice at the time, alcohol.
I really miss it from an aesthetic perspective. There's many instances in which it's appropriate to have one glass of red wine or what, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But
really delicious. It's like you smell it. You smell it like 10 times and you know it's worth tasting.
But did you see that thing that said that you can reduce your Alzheimer's by smelling wine? So now I was with Joyce last week, my friend Joyce, and she would take a drink of the wine and then she would put it over so I could smell it. And I took a big smell and put it back.
Yeah, we did that up at the Mason Jar this summer.
So I don't miss being drunk at all. That was just a hideous space for me.
Me neither. Ugh. So what you had also said, so I guess I want to know, has cannabis always been in your life? You said cannabis was in your life at the time you met your husband. Was it cannabis in your life when you were drinking? And what was it that made you decide that?
Cannabis is very rare in my life for most of my marriage. So I would say maybe we had it 10 times in the whole 27 years.
Okay.
Yeah. At the beginning more, maybe a little more, but yeah, through the rest.
So what brought you back to cannabis? So basically let's fast forward. We know you had your children.
Right.
About what age did you guys get divorced?
The kids?
Yeah. Yeah. What age were you and your husband? And
I was
the kids?
49 and he was 51.
So the kids were already grown out of the house.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you basically...
Wait a minute. We have to stop here because I thought about this today. If they ever hear this, you need to write your father a note that says, thank you very much for paying for my giant fucking college education. That was a huge service from him to put that much money into your education. So,
Well, you tell that to your kids.
Yeah, that's what I would tell them. If they ever hear this, that's what I'm telling them.
So were they out of college, all of them out of college by the time you got divorced as well?
Yes.
Okay.
No. My twins went an extra semester, and that was kind of during that whole time.
When you guys were getting divorced?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've been divorced now?
For 6 years.
And you then decided upon divorce that you were coming back to Colorado where you loved it.
Yes, exactly. Okay. And I thought I had more support here from my family than it ended up being.
So
but
do you have,
okay.
I guess I didn't think you had family. Just your kids were here.
I have 2 brothers who live here.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They have a business here. I have parents who live here, not in the...
I thought they lived in California.
They live in Florida during the winter.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
I've been hanging out for you with a year, and I did not know that.
Well, I haven't been speaking to my parents for the last year, and since before I met you, even I think.
I
don't speak of them. I don't speak to them. So it doesn't make me happy. It doesn't bring me joy.
Well, that's okay. Their family doesn't have to be by blood.
Oh, I have all sorts of new family.
Yeah.
It's so great. I know. Mm-hmm. That's like my friend Joyce. She's kind of like my new mom, big sister. And I'm like, you have just a gift from the universe. There's so many of them. You are a huge gift.
Oh, you are too. So what brought you...
Back to cannabis? Was that where
what brought you back to cannabis, and how did you get back to Colorado? Single and a new, basically a restart, right?
Kind of,
No kids, no husband. You had a career. At this point, we didn't go into the career, but you are involved in politics now at this point.
I am, and we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, I did have a steady flow of income, right? Mm-hmm. That was a good thing. And still do. That's nice, and I appreciate that. What was the question?
Oh, yeah, you were, how'd you get back to Colorado with your job and
I offered the jobs in Illinois, and I said, here, I'm willing to do this, this, and this, and I'm moving to Colorado. I got to take care of my brother, and I don't know if I'm going to be back, and blah, blah, blah. And they just kept hiring. The boss, it just kept going on, and it kept feeding my income needs. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't terribly rigorous, so, except during election years, it really kicks up.
Yeah, so you're busy right now right?
Yeah.
Or you've been busy since I met you with a lot of in and out of the politics stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
So you wanted to be in Colorado because you wanted to pursue. Is this where cannabis enters your life again?
Yes, because I waited. I decided that drinking was not working for me, and decided to work the program for a little while. And then...
and that's when you say program AA?
AA.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I'm really glad I did, too. I learned lots and lots and lots from the big book and the 12 traditions. And I mean, they're really good. They're literature worth reading. And since it was written in the 30s and 40s and stuff, it's kind of homey language in some ways. But the morals are still there, but they're not preachy. And I really think they're everyone should read it. But I wanted to stay sober through my daughter's wedding. Not just alcoholically sober, completely sober. No,
okay.
No cannabis, no nothing.
No recreational, because we're going to get to that conversation about
if I'd have
drug.
known now, then what I know now, I would have definitely gotten high during my daughter's wedding. It would have made it a much better experience.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, totally. Well, oh my God, it really would have been so much better. But you know what? I liked what I did. I did what I needed to do, and it became a positive family experience for a lot of people, and that was my job.
Well, good.
Yeah, and her father's he gets a lot of credit too.
So your daughter got married 5 years ago?
2 years ago.
Oh, 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Yeah.
So you've only quit drinking within 2 years? 3 years?
I'll be getting my 6th year in February. So 5.5 years I've been
So you
sober.
didn't do anything until any kind of recreational drug until 2 years ago?
Until right after that wedding in
Okay.
2014. Right.
And
Because it only became legal recreationally in January.
That's true.
So it was like it wasn't like I waited forever, but...
So as soon as it was rec, you're like, I'm on it.
Well, and I didn't know if I would like it because as many people, you'll talk to them, they'll say, oh yeah, I don't like marijuana. It makes me feel paranoid. I don't like marijuana too. And I'll be like, I felt the same way. But when I found my medicine, the one that matches with me, it's amazing. And I don't have to do it every day, or I can do it every day. Or I know what are the situations where it's going to enhance it. And I know what situations where it's going to detract from my skills. And I don't do it then.
Right.
Right. So got that worked out.
Yeah, I do think there is two sides to the equation, and it is medicinal for some people. Yeah, I think, like you, working out what works for me when I need what. But
my whole life is about that.
Yeah, and then the recreational piece. I don't drink because I don't want to feel like crap. And I know that I can have my recreational marijuana, which means I will consume for my recreational needs, which is not the same as my medical needs. Or my I shouldn't be medical. My medicinal needs. My medicinal needs are completely different than my recreational needs.
I think people's cannabis needs are very complicated sometimes, and that's what CBD and CBG and CBN and all that cool stuff. And people will start understanding the lingo more and more as we let the plant get studied, and more states say this is dumb. We want the money. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, I think it's like we thought. It's social responsibility on so many levels, and recreational, I think, is one of those. Recreational consumption. And I think you had said to me, just because alcohol isn't my recreational choice doesn't mean I don't get any choice. Right. And you said that to me once. And
Did I say that to you?
You said that to me.
Are you sure you didn't say that to me? That's
no,
really good.
You said that to me, and I agree. Right. I absolutely agree.
Opioids are not where it's at, people. They're just not. They fuck your body up really badly.
Right. Cannabis
don't get involved with
the body.
Those. Yes, it does, and it doesn't shut down your liver and your pancreas and your,
Yeah, if anything, I feel like I'm aging in reverse with my cannabis use.
Well, certainly.
Especially knowing how to use it.
Do you want to talk about that? Do you want to say? How?
Yeah. Well.
Okay.
Oh well. Yeah.
We could do it whenever. It doesn't. Yeah. Yeah. Was he ready for us to be done?
I don't know what he's doing.
I don't know.
Because we got to the recreational
Can't
piece.
the shadow voice just come in and talk for a second? Come in, shadow voice.
Yeah, where are you?
Yeah, right. What recreational?
So then you decided to go for cannabis from a recreational perspective.
At first I did because I felt very strongly that I deserved to pay the taxes because I was very happy that it was in. And so I was willing to do that without going for a medical card. But then I realized that all the different ways in which I actually do use it in my life medicinally, I think it actually got rid of this headache that I had earlier. And I'm still a really nice and kind person, so I intend to continue to use it, and it's not breaking my body down.
Right, exactly.
That's just the
If
bottom
anything,
line.
it's building your body back up.
But I might call you on your bullshit when I'm high more than I would normally. There's some bravado. There's some bravado that comes along with it, as long as you're not a total asshole, But some people, I'm like, you know what? We've had this conversation already, and you're not willing to do anything else. And we're done. We're done talking about it. I'm not supporting you on this, whatever it is.
Yeah, I think it also helps us be truth to, because it's easy to give in on and compromise, right? Like as they say, pick your own battles.
Right.
But sometimes it's like, well, how do you know which battles are worth standing up for? So you have to be able to be confident in your space.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
And not being apologetic for who you are, right? It's also knowing, like for me, I am persistent, right? If I want something, I'll go after it, which is a good thing, but it can get me into trouble in a heartbeat. And I have to know when to pull back, right? So it's not, instead of seeing it as a bad quality, just knowing
I just have to tell you something funny, though.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I went to a therapist when I was about your age, and she sent me this guy who did some kind of, I don't know what testing, I don't know what it was, but anyway, it came back and it basically said, just because you can have it doesn't mean you should have it. Just because you can go there doesn't mean you should go there.
Yep.
And that was kind of the whole therapy wrap up, and I guess in a way it was kind of right.
Yeah. That's true. Okay, so we talked about the cannabis use. So you came in and started using cannabis. And then is that when you decided to start your own business? When did you get the entrepreneur bug?
Oh, well, you know what? I'm going to be honest about the entrepreneur bug. Can I do that?
So the other thing about my show, you're my first show. We're setting the foundation.
Yeah, we're setting the foundation.
My show is a no judge zone.
Yeah.
You can be completely honest. This is all about curiosity. We get curious about ourselves here on Byond Sanity.
Okay.
Well, so go ahead. I met you because you had High Urban Hikes last summer.
Right.
Which
is one of my many entrepreneurial distractions. This is what I'm going to tell you.
Okay. I love it.
Being honest. I want to be a fucking hobo. And I'm just trying to figure out a way to be a hobo. I don't even need really special digs. I don't need special food. I just want to go all around the world. I want to go. And so I just keep working toward that end, and I have trips, and I act like I'm going to places, and I enjoy them when I'm there so much.
You look like you had a beautiful time this summer.
I did.
Okay, so you're trying to manifest this life of travel.
Right.
So you had been applying for like hostess tour guides because you are amazing. You are so full of information.
Oh, that's nice.
I mean, seriously, whoever passes you up, you're super engaging. You have so much knowledge. But you said you're working on a new project. So
I am, and we've got
High Urban Hikes that is no longer distracting you. You did a bunch of travel this summer tell us where you've been.
Oh my gosh. We were in Russia in the spring, in May. I went from Moscow to St. Petersburg on this kind of refitted communist freighter from the late 1980s. And it was nice. It was okay. And then we went to Poland and to Italy. And those are, Poland is kind of like Chicago. And that at first that bothered me because it seemed like, I don't know.
Well, but it's true that a lot of Polish live in Chicago,
Oh, hell
when
yeah.
they did the immigration, how many... in the 40s? I don't know when they...
There's
somewhere around the World War, right?
Right.
Yep.
And there's a reason for that because the exact same daffodil that's blooming in Chicago is blooming in Warsaw. The exact. It's amazing. When we landed, I'm like, whoa, we're in Chicago again. So it was nice. Everybody spoke this funny language. And then we went to Italy, we went to the Cinque Terre, which are these 5 independent communities that developed in the clefts of the seaside there in kind of the armpit a little bit of Italy. Mm-hmm. And that's my new happy place.
So when are you planning on going back?
Oh, I don't know, not long from now.
Do you see yourself living abroad? in your future?
Yeah, I do. I think after I'm done being doing my political stuff, and that's through 2018.
So that's only 2 years.
That's not even. It's 20 months.
Oh, you already got it on countdown.
I know this, right?
Yeah.
I have to create a plan to be able to afford to do that.
To travel.
And that's what I'm doing.
Okay. So is this your project? So you want to talk about your project?
The I Am Enough project?
Well, you said you had we were texting about you coming on the show, and you said we want to talk about your new project.
I do want to talk about my new project. So anyway, there's this woman, her name is Marissa Spears, and she's British. And she said the biggest disease of humanity is not believing that they are enough, that people are enough. They don't believe they're enough. They're not tall enough. They're not smart enough. They don't have enough money. And even worse things than that. They're,
yes.
Whatever.
I hear that conversation in my head every day.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then we're constantly in a state of trying to please this chorus in our head. And it's exhausting.
I have an interesting new neighbor that I want you to meet.
Okay.
I really like, she's
Nice.
intriguing like you. Like, I want to know more about her. She says that, she's like, tell that bitch to stop talking. And
Yeah.
She always catches me off guard. And I'm like, she's like that insecure girlfriend bitch that talks to you in your head. Stop listening to her and
I
stop
tell
inviting
her to be quiet. I do tell her to be
Yeah.
quiet. Yeah. You've got to. You absolutely
Yeah.
got to. Because I really am. Here, look at it this way. Some of this is going to get really down to the nitty gritty, but
that's what my show's about.
you're alive. Some fucking how, who knows, in this amazing time, there's these vehicles that go really fast and you can tell somebody something 6,000 miles away in 3 seconds. You could fly in an airplane there too, and it goes up and it comes down and everybody claps and it's great. It's just an amazing fucking world and I'm so grateful to be in it. And I think I'm enough.
Yes. You're more than enough.
I think I'm enough. And I decided that what I wanted to do, but I'm not going to make another distraction. If I just want to travel, I'm just going to travel, but I'd like to talk to people about this concept about, is this a sign you would hold in front of you in their language? I am enough. Is it something you could hold in front of you and really believe it? Right. And you really believe it. And, if you think it's not, can you just talk about one way in which you don't feel enough and what it would be like if you could let that go? Mm-hmm. And have those conversations with people.
Well, I think that's what brings us to Beyond Sanity. I think for me, it's been stepping back, and maybe you've been on your similar journey because we've talked about, I think one of the biggest things that I had shared with you is my relationship with my husband today, right? How fragile it's been for so many years. And you said to me, no, we would not end up together. Remember saying that?
That's not exactly how it went. You said,
Yeah, remember.
I'm afraid that this business and this stuff might lead me away from Willie. And I said, it might.
Yeah.
That's all. It wasn't a prediction.
Yeah,
it was just a possibility. And that's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here it is. It's
better than it's ever been.
Well, no, let's just say we're communicating better.
Okay, that's nice.
Right? And that we have, like what you said, we didn't have a plan.
Yeah.
Other than the plan is Willie wanted to have a wife and kids.
Right. That's kind of what ours was too. And
wife and kids.
And maybe travel and maybe have a nice house and Christmas with your family and, yeah.
And I'm discovering that that's not really me. Right? Mm-hmm. But Beyond Sanity is accepting that that's okay that I don't want to be that stereotypical stay-at-home wife that loves her, that has to be a helicopter mom. And I don't want to put any women down, but I think when you look at sometimes what is a good mother, like we don't see enough diversity in how mothering can be.
Right, and I think just the phraseology that you just used, the good mother, even those two words together may be something that we have to stop talking about.
Yeah, it's like, because
I don't know.
Every child needs different mothering, and every mother mothers differently.
And sometimes they're matched, and sometimes they're not.
Yeah, and
that's just the way it is. Now, I know people who just adore their fucking parents and would vacation with them every time and would, whatever.
Yeah.
And there's no money bullshit between them, and they don't, and that would have been great.
And that's what I hope for. I guess.
I'm trying to be that to my kids, but they're mad because we split. I broke it. I broke it.
Oh, you broke
We broke it.
You broke the marriage.
We broke it.
So they see it as a you and dad and us. We all grow old together, not you separate from dad.
No, it's very much so that way.
Yeah,
because Karen's in the picture, and that's fine.
Oh yeah, because he's
remarried.
remarried.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think happily, and I'm happy for them. I think it's wonderful.
Sorry. You think? Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Do you think after how many years of marriage did you say? 28?
We knew each other. We got divorced on the anniversary of our first date, the 28th anniversary of our first date.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you think that was your request or was it mutual?
To get divorced?
Yeah.
Oh, the problem was we kept seesawing. When I was committed, he wasn't, and when he was committed, I wasn't. And that happened like 3 or 4 times. And then we're like, this is dumb. And I was sober during that time.
So
that was pre-AA.
So you guys were so you were looking into your sobriety when you were still married. Did you think? So that's kind of like I was wanting to see is kind of the. Do you think it's been a self progression? Is that the first thing you realized that your drinking needed to be addressed? Do you think that was the first thing on this path of doing for you?
Yeah. Oh. If not doing for me, at least uncovering who I am so I can decide what to do for this poor person.
So do you feel like you kind of got lost up in being a mom, being a wife?
No, I was always like a moth. I was beating my head against the lamp all the fucking time. Because I just couldn't find a space where I felt comfortable because I was insecure.
Oh, okay. So...
Because I was still listening to the tapes in my head.
Okay. All right. So,
I wasn't pretty. I wasn't this. I wasn't
and you're so...
thin enough. I wasn't whatever.
Yeah.
Stupid shit. White lady shit. Stupid shit.
White lady shit.
Stupid shit.
Yeah.
And, I wish that we had a family that was deeper than that.
Yeah. So do you feel like your family... Do you think it replicated too much of what you grew up in?
What, the family I ended up having?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't mean that wasn't true of my family. No. I thought our family was great. Just the breakup didn't really have to do with the kids. They knew it didn't.
Yeah.
I
would figure since they were older, they would have been more understanding.
They were.
Good.
They were in a lot of ways. Yeah, very much so. Yeah, they were fine. They handled it very well. It was a tough situation. We had this myth about our family being so great because we'd gone around the world and and all that. Whatever myth you build up about your family. So
in the path of sobriety. I shouldn't say sobriety. I said understand that alcohol does not fit in your life.
Right.
What was the next thing that you think was a changing point in finding out who Amy was? Because as you said, I'm not pretty enough. Because I also had sent you a text. I'd like to talk about your body because I absolutely think you have the best cute body.
Oh, and you've watched it go up and down and wait. Yeah. Well, that's very sweet.
But
yeah, nice.
But
thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that.
But I think as women, we so self-criticize ourselves.
Oh yeah.
Like I was telling Willie, I think Willie or somebody, that I remember in high school, my mom made my senior prom dress, and I remember she took my measurement. Mm-hmm. And I think my hips were like 41 or 42 inches. Mm-hmm. Who in high school has 42-inch hips? Right?
Right. I did.
But my waist was like 32.
Yeah, right.
Or something ridiculous.
Right.
And yeah, I guarantee you I felt fat.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Because you never hear that measurement. So anyways.
But any of that kind of stuff is being supported by our culture. It's hammered and hammered and hammered and hammered and hammered, And I did have good friends in high school who weren't really into that shit. And in college as well. But we all had our little body issues that came from whatever our culture was,
So did you start? So you started with knowing that alcohol was in a good spot, or wasn't a?
I had a horrible rage. 6 months before we got divorced. It was like right after Christmas at my mom, which actually in the long run actually was the appropriate thing to do, and I should have stopped talking to her then. Mm-hmm. But I was so scared at how angry I was that I said, I cannot go through this divorce going up and down with alcohol. That's just not going to work. I need to get into therapy. A friend suggested a cognitive behavioral therapist. And I went, and Roger paid for it, helped pay for it, or his insurance paid for it. We were still married, so that was great. I appreciate that. Thank you, whoever you were. And it became more and more apparent to me that this wasn't going to work. I'd have moments of fear because I hadn't really created a sustainable career as far as I could see.
Okay.
So I had some moments of fear.
Because you weren't working like at a... You were working on and off, but nothing like
I'm
longevity.
a 1099. I'm a 1099 employee.
Okay.
So I'm a consultant.
Okay. Gotcha.
And so I don't really have a contract to a date.
Yeah.
Right. But then I became just less and less worried about stuff like that. And when that's over, I'll find something else. And I may find a way to make money with this I'm Enough project just to sustain it. I may not. I'm probably not going to try that hard. I don't want to distract myself from living anymore.
So that came to you after you had some therapy, and you've been sober for how many years?
Well, I had that I went back to it at the election of that year, and that lasted for 3 months, and it was really sad.
That was 2000.
That's when I moved to Colorado. Yeah.
That was 2000.
That was 2000. That was 2011. You were close.
Oh,
very
okay.
good. Yeah, you were very. But I have a friend who doesn't ever give me advice, who called me on the phone and said she had found an atheist AA in Colorado Springs, and would I consider going? And that was a big step for her. I'm sure she thought about it a lot before she did it. So I'm like, okay, well, if Karen thinks that I'm an alcoholic, this is probably something I need to look at. And I didn't want to drive to Colorado Springs, so I just went down the street to York Street. That was a very interesting experience. Yeah. Yeah. Glad I did it.
Cool. So...
I think of how much money I wasted. A lot of money, but how much more I would have wasted in alcohol.
So that goes into another thing, which is again part of our five areas of life, right? So if you think about it, if your first step was sobriety, you already made the determination that but you knew it deep down you needed to get your shit together in order to find you again.
Absolutely.
Right. So you started with that. That was the first step. But in turn, that freed up some financial space, right? I mean, I know how much money I would spend going out drinking, right?
Right.
I mean, hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I get generous and buy other people's drinks. It's not good. It's very expensive.
Then just eating. And then I just think physical health, like the drinking bad on the body, and then the way I ate. So cruddy when I was hungover.
Oh, right. Oh, it's so terrible. I know. Here's how I pay back Bacchus on that one, okay? The god of wine. Is that sometimes when I'm out to eat, everybody has alcohol but me, and I just let them split the bill. I'm like, you know what? That's fine. I'll buy you a drink every now and then. I don't have to be hard up about that.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't actually have any alcohol. Sorry.
As long as my half of the bill doesn't come up to $50,
right?
And I didn't have a single drink.
That's true. That maybe you might be right.
Now I can go. I love being able to go out and just have my club soda. Most of the time they don't charge for the club soda.
A lot of times they don't because they figure you're a DD or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I always ask for club soda, and I have my marijuana or my cannabis.
Right, absolutely. And I'm thinking all sorts of thoughts. Like the other day, I was on the airplane and I was looking out at all the clouds, and there was this huge. It's called Virga when you can see the sheets of rain coming down from a cloud.
I love that.
I love it too. And we're up in the airplane, and I'm thinking, what if you kidnapped politely, quietly, Michelangelo, put him in one of those seats, and then reawakened him looking out that window? What would he do? I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
I would just blow his mind, I would think. But I have fun thoughts like that, and it doesn't hurt anybody.
Right, exactly. Right. It just makes you kind of just chill, and it kind of puts things into perspective. I think sometimes my mind races, and it gets so worried and so worked up on every little detail that cannabis can bring those thoughts slowing down. Mm-hmm. Or sometimes it can bring thoughts like all the puzzle pieces flying, kind of piecing them together all of a sudden that I didn't see before. Mm-hmm. As I'm trying to build something that I don't know is coming, but I'm just doing what feels so right.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. Like this podcast. I'm just sitting here. I've never done a podcast.
I know. He's going to be like, ladies, you need to be done. That's enough.
I don't even know where he is.
That's enough information on that one.
Okay. So back to your so what is your project? We were texting And you're not doing high urban hikes anymore.
Well, I do offer. The problem is it's an election year, and so I have to be back in Illinois a lot. And frankly, my first goal is to travel. So if I can do that, if I can find a way to do that inexpensively, since I can still do a lot of parts of my job from wherever I am, I try and do that. So I didn't have a lot of openings in my hike schedule this summer, I'll be honest.
Okay, so you were busy.
I was busy.
So does it mean you're necessarily not going to be working on it? It's just you.
I haven't taken it down, and there's still, but nobody goes there. I don't know.
Because you're not putting any energy, but
I'm not putting any energy.
It's not. Does it mean you can't pick it up?
No, right, and especially, I did have actual proof that a person will pay what I'm asking for my 3 hours of private service when I come to the hotel, the concierge service. So unless there's a lot of other people in the market now, and there may be, but none of them are me.
Right, I think about that too.
I don't worry about that. None of them are me.
Yeah. Well, life happens. And when I first started in the industry, I was out meeting. I'm like, how can I meet as many people in this world as possible? It didn't matter if you were cannabis related or not. I had my feet.
It was a new birth for you then.
Yeah. And so, but with the summer came and my mom relocated. She bought a house in Colorado Springs and the kids off for the summer. I'm like, I don't want the older kids to have to watch the younger kids too much. So I pretty much... During the week,
fair,
I spent, I tried to do as much as I could, like kind of balance between all the stuff I do and being home.
That's all that matters, right?
Right, exactly. A year ago, like if you looked at me a year ago, I'm not even the same person. I am on the inside, but I'm finally, I feel like my outside is finally matching the inside. Have
you ever seen the movie I Heart Huckabees?
No, I don't think so.
It's a great movie, but one of the rejoinders in that movie is, how am I not myself? How am I not myself? And that's all I ask myself every day. How am I not being my authentic, my real self? What is in the way? What cultural rule? Whatever? What limiting thought on my part? What apology I need to give and haven't given yet, or whatever it is.
I think that's how it's been for me. So the first year, like you said, that first year was my alcohol. And then it was like, what's going on with my career? And then the health started. Right, my digestion started. And then I quit my job thinking, that stress. And that's when the sugar came out, that I'm a sugar addict. And now I'm sitting here a year later, and now I'm ready to take that next leap, right? I took a huge leap last year, letting go of my job for not an income, right? What's the one rule everybody says? You never quit a job until you have another.
Maybe it's just a bullshit rule.
Right? So this is where Byond sanity comes. Well, you know what? I'm not doing what everybody says. And I'm going for it.
Have you read The Code of the Extraordinary Mind?
No.
Oh, okay. I got to give it to you.
Okay.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's about how to not listen to any of that shit.
Right. Stop listening to it. And so here I am again, freaking out. Like I gotta get this health coaching, my cannabis health coaching thing going. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm doing it and all the things that I'm working on. And I've known what for the last, I shouldn't say but brainstorm. He'll edit it out. For the last year, met him through you on your high urban hike.
Oh, right.
Right. Remember the people from Canada?
Yeah, he did a nice cannabis community broadcast.
Yeah. And so he was always such a good person to speak to about business. And he'd always, like the time I was done talking to him, I'm like, wow, I didn't really think any of this through. But he's so willing to help you, kind of push you. It's like,
nice. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, he never lets you off the hook.
No.
Oh, no.
So,
no, that's good. It's nice to have a person like that.
So now he's helping me with this idea of this podcast.
Excellent.
Called Byond Sanity. Your story fits so perfectly into a cannabis journey. And not even really a cannabis journey, but a journey of saying, you know what, making those same decisions over and over again is not working for me. Which is what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So I'm stopping the insanity and I'm going to start making decisions that are for me.
Yeah.
And not
so
what
good,
everybody else
so good
thinks.
they're even beyond sanity.
Right?
Right. Yeah. I'm all down with that. Thanks a lot, Becca. That was awesome.
Did you have fun?
I did. I can talk to you for 8 more hours. Do you have it?
Oh, I do.
All right.
I don't even know what time it is.
We didn't even touch the surface.
I know we didn't. We didn't.
I know.
Because we still haven't got to your project. Tell me.
No, I told you a little bit of my project, the I Am Enough project, talking to people about.
Oh, I'm enough.
About being enough, yeah. And going around the world and doing that and taking pictures and putting it up on a blog. But I'm never, you know what?
That's like that. Have you seen that girl that's gone around I think you might have put it on Facebook and she's talking about women, I'm beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that lovely? So, there's all kinds of projects you can do like that. Whether they get monetized in any way, I don't know. I'm hoping that's not going to be an issue. So We'll see. We'll see.
All right. Well, I appreciate you being my first guest.
Absolutely.
And I enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah. All right.
On Byond Sanity.
Okay. Peace out, maniac mom.
Glug, glug, glug.
Glug, glug. Yeah.
You had a bad day. Chaotic mental state, myopic season fake. Moves be prosperous. Call it real life state monopoly. How I play so monstrous. My new friend binoculars. On another topic, the love it bothersome. Leave them bothersome. How we blossoming past awesomeness. Let them witness we're unlimited progress. Limitless drama. Limitless unstoppable. It's not impossible. The word itself says I'm possible. Y'all comical. Y'all wanna see us fall. Non-optional, unlogical. Overcoming every obstacle. 'Tis the season, falling leaves. Leave us room to grow. You in the past like who I used to know. Gotta go.
Put your 2 fingers up like. Put your 2 fingers up like. Negativity is climbing dramatically. Such and such seems like they're after me. That's a conspiracy. Don't laugh at me, just laugh at me. Ha 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 ha. Who are you when I am proud of me? Monogamy. Open the blinds or open your minds. Let the light shine. Peace and love to the ones who don't show love. Hope your heart grows some. I'ma roll some. Burning like these memories. You might have switched up. Not enough to call you an enemy. I don't really call you anything. Global warming, talk about a waste of energy. I only have one enemy. He used to be your friend of mine. That enemy is me. Me. All my mirrors broken from disappointment. Watch my feet when you walk through the door. Shattered glass on the floor, and it's quick to draw blood, blood, on the blood, on the floor, on the blood.
For a reason. Is it only preaching or is it what you believe in? Is the one you pray to a demon or are we dreaming? Doubting what we seeing or is it all a plan? I say we leave our footprints in the sand. Hold my hand, no looking back unless you wanna backtrack. Gotta stay tacked, don't fall back in the trap. Misery will attack, our dreams becoming real. Just gotta stay up on the path.